Now I'm going to be talking about cross and isolated margin. And don't worry, I'll try to talk slowly and also in simple language because I do understand that this is a commonly misunderstood topic. Okay, so whenever you're using leverage on a crypto exchange, most exchanges that I know of, they have two options for your margin mode: cross or isolated. And when you select it here, it also explains the description between both. Okay, so when you're using cross margin, what this means is that whatever funds that you have in your futures account, that entire futures account is being used as margin for your trade. Meaning that if that trade just so happens to get liquidated, your entire futures account will also be liquidated as well. Okay? When you are using isolated margin, it's not your entire account that is being used as margin. It's only a specific isolated, like a section of your entire futures account. And it just depends on what is the position size of the trade that you're taking and what is the leverage that you selected once you actually took that trade. Okay? So at first glance, it might appear like isolated is safer because, oh, if I get liquidated, I'm not going to lose the whole thing. If I use cross, I'm going to lose literally the entire futures account. So therefore, surely isolated is safer, right? This is the first assumption that people make. However, this is not always necessarily the case. I'm going to explain the pros and cons between both of these. Okay, so when you're using cross, so how much do I have in this account at the moment? I've got about $90. If I open a $90 position on Bitcoin, my leverage on that trade, since I'm using cross, it's going to be the position size divided by how much actual margin do I have, or how much available funds do I have in the exchange. So if I open up a $93 position, my leverage on that trade is going to be 1, because it's just 93 divided by 93, it's 1. If I open a 100, actually no, before I move on to the next section, what is my liquidation price going to be with a $90 position on cross? It's going to be literally 0, because price, in order for me to get liquidated, price has to drop 100% because I'm on 1x leverage. If I open a $180 position on cross, so it's 2 times whatever my trading account is, I'm going to be on 2 times leverage. This means that the amount that price has to drop before I get liquidated, it's not going to be a 100% drop. It's going to be a 50% drop. So my liquidation price is going to be roughly 50%. This is supposed to be a 5, by the way. It's going to be roughly 50% to the downside. Okay. If I open a $930 position with cross, then my stop loss is going to be 10% away, right? So my liquidation price is going to be calculated based on how big is my trade and how much money do I actually have on the exchange. Okay, that's what cross is. With isolated, if I put 10x leverage on isolated, that means that by default, always, my liquidation price is going to be about 10% away. If I am on, let's say, 2x leverage, then my my liquidation price is going to be about 50% away. If I'm on 100x leverage, then my liquidation price is going to be about 1% away. So on isolated, my liquidation price is always going to be that fixed amount, just relative to the leverage. And on cross, my liquidation is always going to be based on how big of a trade am I actually taking. Okay? So that's the small differences between isolated and cross. So when does it make sense to use cross and when does it make sense to use isolated? Here's how I think about it. For me, it only makes sense to use isolated if I have my entire trading account on the exchange, because if I get liquidated, I don't want to lose literally my entire trading account, right? So I will need to use isolated to protect myself against that situation. I'll use cross if I don't have my entire trading account on the exchange. So what I mean by that is if I have a $10,000 trading account, I can have $9,000 in a crypto wallet of like my own personal crypto wallet, and then I can only have 1,000 unless I have just 1,000 on the exchange. Okay. In that situation, I would just prefer to use cross. I would prefer to use cross because I'm already going in with the mindset that, okay, I've allocated a certain percentage of my trading account that I need to actually sit on the exchange so that I can go and take trades. Like the entire purpose or the whole function of this futures account, it's just margin. I'm using this so I can actually go and take trades. I'm not entirely sure for what type of strategy requires isolated or what kind of strategy truly demands me to have the entire trading account on the exchange. Maybe it would be like some arbitrage type of strategy or I don't know, some obscure type of strategy. But for standard like day trading, intraday trading, or like low time frame trading, I would much prefer to use cross. The main benefit of cross is that, well, when you're on cross, most of the time you're going to have a much wider liquidation price. So the probability that you get liquidated on a trade is going to be like super close to zero. As in your stop loss price, let's say I get long like right here, my stop loss price is going to be somewhere here, and then my liquidation price is going to be literally like at zero or like at like 20% away, right? So my stop loss is always going to be hit well in advance compared to the liquidation price. So there's just no way I'm going to get liquidated. Or like maybe there's a chance if like the exchange lags or something like that. But worst case scenario, I don't lose my entire trading account. I just lose whatever is on the exchange. And that's already a specific percentage of my account, right? So cross just makes everything easier. If I'm using isolated, the problem with this, if I'm day trading, is for every single trade, I'm going to need to do additional, like I'm going to need an extra step to calculate what is the appropriate leverage that I'm going to need to take this trade. Whereas with cross, it just automatically calculates it. Okay, so to wrap up my point, I'll just give some final tips. So if you are trading on the low time frames, you don't need your entire trading account on the exchange, right? You don't. So that's tip number one. Don't have your entire trading account on the exchange because it can go down. Tip number two is if you have only a certain percentage of your account on the exchange, then just use cross because it's going to make your life so much easier because you're not going to get your liquidation price is going to be so far away. And as long as you are using a stop loss on every single trade, all of your losing trades should just be stopped out. They shouldn't be liquidated, right? The distance between whatever your stop loss is and your liquidation price, it's enormous. So you're not really carrying any liquidation risk here. And isolated, it only makes sense if you literally have the entire account on the exchange. And as I said earlier, you probably shouldn't be doing that unless you have a really, really good reason to do that. And by the way, if you're serious about improving as a trader, I'd like to invite you into my free Telegram. Here's what you're going to get inside. You're going to get a 100-page guide on how I trade breakouts. You're also going to get a 214-page guide on how I trade reversals. And by the way, these two guides, I go really, really in depth with the strategies, with the theory, with the logic, and also I include like total combined within these two guides, there's more than 75 trade screenshots for you to study, like through just continuous repetition, and it's going to help you train that pattern recognition of seeing the exact same thing happen over and over again. Also, you're going to get a custom trading journal that I built, which makes it really easy for you to track your trades, but also to review your trades. Like literally in the journal, there's a tab called educational resources. And in there, I have a template for reviewing trade screenshots and guide to show you the process for how to actually review your trade screenshots to improve your performance over time. And also a whole bunch of other stuff as well that I give out for free in my Telegram. So if that sounds interesting, click the link in the description to join.